Imagine effortlessly accessing a wellspring of divine power, transforming your life from the inside out. Joel Goldsmith's revolutionary teachings provide the blueprint for cultivating profound inner peace, abundance, and spiritual liberation. This video will guide you through his powerful principles to unlock your true divine potential. All right, family, let's get into it. So, how did Joel S. Goldsmith used to kick things off? He wouldn't come out all fire and brimstone. Nah, he'd get quiet for a second, look out at everyone, and then just lay it out there real simple. He'd say something like, "This isn't about adding a new trick to your bag. This is about waking up to the power you already have, but have totally been ghosting." He wasn't about that external drama-filled life. He was about the ultimate inside job. Now, don't get it twisted. When I say divine power, I'm not talking about some superhero movie CGI level stuff. I'm talking about that deep down, gut-level knowing. That unshakable swagger that comes not from your bank account or your job title, but from realizing you are literally wired into the source of everything. The universe, God, the big IT, whatever you want to call it. Joel figured out the cheat code. He found the back door into the system that most of us are just staring at the login screen for. He realized that all the power, all the peace, all the perfect health and abundance you could ever dream of, it ain't out there, it's in here. And he cracked the vault. He stopped begging a distant God for scraps and started tapping into the infinite flow that was already his. He went from looking for the light at the end of the tunnel to realizing he was the bulb already screwed in and just waiting for the current to hit. So, how do you flip that switch? How do you stop just hearing about this power and actually start feeling it run the show in your life? Stick around, because we're about to break down Joel's ultimate playbook. And trust me, by the end of this, you're going to see your whole reality in a way you never have before. You're going to find out exactly what it means to stop living life on your knees and start operating from the throne. At the end of your speech, so there you have it. Joel's master key. It wasn't a secret handshake or some fancy mantra. It was a radical shift in address, from the shaky little apartment of your personal problems to the penthouse suite of the divine presence. But here's the real kicker, the thing that'll keep you up tonight. What if this isn't just a teaching? What if it's a trigger? And what if, by really getting this, you just activated a shift in your own life that you can't put back in the box? The current is always on. The question is, are you ready to get lit? If this hit home for you, if you felt that click inside, do me a solid like the video dropper 777 in the comments if this resonance hit different for you today, and subscribe to keep this journey going. Let's build this community in the truth. Peace, of course. Here is the expansion of your first keynote, continuing directly from the flow of the introduction. So, let's break down Joel's ultimate playbook, starting with the first and most fundamental shift. The inside job. God's not your sugar daddy. This is where most of us get it all twisted, right? We're raised in this culture of transaction. You pray, you beg, you try to be a good person, and you're basically waiting on the big guy upstairs to send down your package. A better job, a healed body, a fixed relationship. We treat God like a celestial vending machine, or worse, a sugar daddy. We do a little dance, say the right words, and expect a payout. We're living in a state of perpetual spiritual beggary, holding out our tin cup to a universe we see as separate from us. Joel Goldsmith completely blew up that entire model. He said the fundamental error is thinking that God is out there and you are down here. That God has the goods, and you have to figure out the magic words to get him to give them to you. That's a recipe for a life of anxiety, lack, and feeling like you're never quite enough, never quite praying hard enough. You're constantly looking for a sign, for an external validation that you're on the right track. It's exhausting. The radical, game-changing truth that Joel unlocked is that God, the divine, what the infinite isn't a separate being. It's the very core of your own being. It's the I am that you are. This isn't some poetic metaphor. This is the literal foundation. The power isn't something you petition, it's something you are. You don't have a soul, you have a soul. You are an individualization of this divine consciousness having a human experience. So what does that mean in plain English? It means the peace you're seeking. It's not a condition that God imposes on your chaos from the outside. It's a presence within you that you learn to yield to. The healing you need. It's not a miracle sent down from a medical sky god. It's the harmonious, perfect pattern of your own spiritual being, which is always whole and complete, breaking through into your physical awareness. The supply for your bills, your dreams, your life. It's not a limited resource you have to compete for. It's the infinite nature of that divine source, which is your very life, flowing as you and Thaza through you. This is the ultimate inside job. You stop scanning the horizon for your savior, and you start centering down into the kingdom within. You stop praying to God, and you start praying from God. Well, your meditation isn't about reaching out to something distant. It's about sinking into the profound, already present reality of what you truly are. It's the difference between standing in the rain begging for a drop of water and realizing you are the ocean. This shift changes everything. It moves you from a position of lack and desperation to a position of inherent power and authority. Because if the solution to every problem is already resident within you as your own Christ consciousness, then nothing in the outer world can ever truly threaten you. The game is won on the inside long before it ever manifests on the outside. Now, if the first realization is that it's all an inside job, that the kingdom of God is within you, then the immediate, practical question is, how do you go from just knowing that intellectually to actually living it? How do you transition from being the person begging for a miracle to being the person who is the source of that miraculous power? This is the flip of the switch, from beggar to operator. Think of it like this. For your whole life you've been living in a house, thinking you were just a guest, maybe even a squatter. You've been tiptoeing around, afraid to touch the thermostat, unsure which lights you're allowed to turn on, constantly waiting for the real owner. This distant, maybe grumpy, landlord God, to show up and tell you what you can and can't do. You've been freezing in the winter and sweating in the summer because you didn't think you had the authority to adjust the climate. You've been sitting in the dark, praying for a lamp to turn on when the switch was right next to you the whole time. What Joel's work is about the moment you stop being a timid guest and realize, wait a minute, I'm the owner. This is my house. That's the flip of the switch. It's not about gaining a new power from outside. It's about claiming the authority you've always had but never exercised. You walk over to that thermostat and you set it to peace. You flip the switch for joy. You turn on the faucet of infinite supply. You stop waiting for permission to live a good life. So, what does this operating actually look like in the trenches of daily life? It's a total reprogramming of your default responses. When a problem hits, a health scare, a financial panic, a relationship drama, the old beggar consciousness immediately looks up and out. It starts frantically praying, God, please fix this, change this situation, make this person act differently, send me a solution. The operator, the one who has flipped the switch, does something entirely different. They get still. They turn within. They don't address the problem from the level of the problem. Instead, they connect with the truth of their being. They consciously become a conduit for the divine to flow into the situation. They might sit in silence and acknowledge, I see this appearance of sickness, but I know the truth of my being is wholeness and perfection. I am not a vulnerable body, I am a spiritual idea, maintained in perfect harmony by the divine mind that formed me. They don't beg for money, they affirm, I am the very consciousness of substance, and my supply is the infinite activity of God, expressing itself in perfect and visible ways for me now. You stop fighting the darkness and you simply turn on the light. The beggar is reactive, frantic, and focused on the external mess. The operator is proactive, centered, and focused on the internal truth. The operator understands that their primary job is to be a clear, unobstructed channel to get their little, personal, neurotic self out of the way so that the big self, the I am, can handle the situation with an intelligence and a power that your personal mind could never even conceive of. This is the move from being a consumer of grace to being a distributor of it. Of course, here is the expansion of your third keynote, continuing the flow directly from the end of the previous section. This shift from beggar to operator requires a fundamental retuning of your entire awareness. It's not just about changing your actions, it's about changing your very frequency. This is what we mean by the ultimate vibe shift, tuning your dial to the infinite. You see, most of us are walking around with our inner dial stuck on the same scratchy AM radio station. Let's call it station WORLD. It's a 24/7 broadcast of the news, the stock market, other people's opinions, our own past traumas, and a constant stream of fear, lack, and limitation. We're so used to the static we think it's the only thing on the air. We think the chaos is reality. But Joel taught that this world of effects is just a broadcast. The real power, the real music is coming from a different station entirely. Station God, the infinite, a frequency of pure harmony, peace, and limitless possibility. Your job as an operator isn't to fix the bad news on station WORLD. It's to stop giving it your attention and consciously retune your dial to station God. This is the essence of true prayer and meditation in the Goldsmith sense. It's not about asking for things. It's a deliberate, conscious act of tuning in. You sit down, you close your eyes, and you withdraw your attention from the outer world of problems. You let the chatter of your own personal mind, your worries, your to-do lists, or your resentments, just fade into background noise. You become the listener, not to the chaos, but to the silence beneath it. You might use a passage of scripture, a spiritual truth, or just the simple feeling of love as your tuning fork. You focus on it. You feel for the vibe of it. You're not straining to hear a voice. You're feeling for a shift in the atmosphere of your own being. You're reaching for a feeling of expansion, of peace, of connectedness. It's like slowly turning the dial on an old radio, listening for the moment the static falls away and a clear, beautiful signal comes through. And when you hit it, you rest there, you soak in it. You let that higher frequency wash over you and recalibrate your entire system. This isn't a one-and-done thing. It's a constant practice. The world, your own habits, will constantly try to pull your dial back to the station of lack and fear. Your work is to notice when you're listening to the static and consciously retune. When a bill shows up and panic starts to rise, that's the static. You don't engage with the panic. You turn the dial. You remember, my supply is spiritual and infinite. When a pain shows up in your body, you don't stare at it in fear. You turn the dial. You acknowledge, the truth of my being is wholeness and perfection. You are not denying the appearance. You are simply choosing to give your power and attention to a higher, more fundamental reality. You are, in every moment, choosing your broadcast. You are deciding which reality you want to plug into. The more you practice this, the more natural it becomes, until living from the infinite frequency starts to become your default setting, and the world's static becomes just that. Background noise you can easily tune out. This consistent practice of tuning your dial, of shifting your vibe from the world's chaos to the infinite's peace, reveals the most liberating secret of all. It shows you that you aren't trying to acquire something you lack. You are recognizing and claiming what has been yours all along. This is the divine cheat code. It's all already yours. The world operates on a principle of earning. You work, you struggle, you strive, and maybe, just maybe, you get a little piece of the pie. It's a system of lack and competition built on the idea that resources are limited and you have to fight for your share. This is the game most people are playing, and it's an exhausting, stressful grind. But what Joel uncovered was the ultimate cheat code. He found the debug menu for the human experience. And the code is simple. The entire kingdom of God, with all its peace, power, and infinite supply, is your inherited spiritual birthright. It's not a reward for good behavior. It's the fundamental nature of what you are. Think of it like this. You've been playing a video game, desperately scraping for coins and power-ups, completely unaware that you accidentally started the game with all the cheat codes activated. You have infinite ammo, unlimited health, and maxed out stats. But you're still hiding behind barriers, scared of the enemies, because you don't know the power you're holding. You're living like a pauper when you have the keys to the royal treasury in your pocket. The work, then, isn't one of acquisition. It's one of realization. It's about stopping the frantic search and finally looking in your own inventory to see what's already there. This is why this path is so different. It's not about building a relationship with a distant God. It's about waking up to the fact that you are in an unbreakable union with the divine right now. Your very breath is God breathing as you. The intelligence animating your cells is divine mind expressing itself. The love you feel for others is that infinite love flowing through you. You are not a separate self trying to get to God. You are the individual expression of God, being itself. The peace you seek, it's the core of your being, the guidance you need. It's the innate intelligence of your own Christ self, the abundance you desire. It is the infinite nature of your source, which is your very life. Therefore, your entire focus shifts from getting to unveiling. Your prayer becomes, Father, open my eyes to see the harmony that is already established. Reveal to me the abundance that is already mine in consciousness. You stop trying to create perfection in an imperfect world and start recognizing the perfect spiritual pattern that is already present beneath the surface appearances of any situation. You stop asking, God, please give me health, and you start affirming, God, reveal the wholeness that I am. This is the cheat code. You are bypassing the world's system of lack and going straight to the source, which is your own self. You are not a sinner in the hands of an angry God. You are the beloved child in whom the Father is well pleased, and you have always had full access to the entire estate. The only thing that ever changed was your awareness of it. This profound realization, that it's all already yours, demands a complete overhaul of your posture in life. It requires you to move out of the servant's quarters and take your rightful seat. This is the essence of living from the throne, not the knees. For most of our lives, we've been conditioned to live from our knees. We kneel in prayer, begging for a crumb of mercy. We kneel in fear before our problems, giving them an authority they do not possess. We kneel before the opinions of others, the state of the economy, the diagnosis from a doctor. We have given our power away to 1,000 different external gods, and we live in a state of reaction to a world that seems to have total control over our fate. This is a life of perpetual surrender, not the good kind, where you surrender to God, but the debilitating kind, where you surrender your power to the world of appearances. It's a life of waiting, hoping, and wishing, always from a position of perceived weakness. But when you know the cheat code, when you understand that the infinite power of the universe is the very core of your being, that entire dynamic gets flipped. You stop living from your knees and you start living from the throne. The throne is not a symbol of ego or arrogance. It's a symbol of your spiritual authority. It is the consciousness of the Christ within you, from which you calmly and confidently behold your world. From your knees, a problem is a terrifying giant you have to plead with God to remove. From the throne, that same problem is seen for what it is, a temporary appearance, or illusion of power that has no authority over the reality of your being. You don't beg God to fix it. You, from the consciousness of your oneness with God, declare the truth about it. Living from the throne means you stop letting the outer world set the tone for your inner world. When the stock market crashes, the person on their knees goes into a panic, their inner world shattered by an external event. The person on the throne remains centered. They may take practical steps, but their inner peace, their sense of security, which is rooted in their infinite source, remains unshaken. They know their supply is not ultimately in the market, it is in God. When a conflict arises, the person on their knees gets defensive, angry, or hurt, reacting from a place of personal sense. The person on the throne responds from a place of principle. They access a compassion and a wisdom that is not their own personal, limited resource, but the infinite resource of the divine flowing through them. This is the ultimate power move. It's not about controlling other people or outcomes. It's about exercising absolute sovereignty over your own consciousness. You are the ruler of your inner kingdom. From the throne of your own awareness, you can decree peace where there seems to be chaos. You can decree harmony where there seems to be conflict. You can decree abundance where there seems to be lack. You are not at the effect of life. You are the one, through your conscious union with the divine, who brings the qualities of heaven to bear upon the circumstances of earth. You stop being a victim of the weather, and you realize you have the authority to determine the spiritual climate of your own life. It is a shift from a life of pleading to a life of princely authority, where you govern your experience from the unshakable truth of your divine inheritance. All right, so we've taken our seat on the throne. We've moved from a state of begging to a state of spiritual authority. But authority isn't a passive thing. It's not just a nice idea you think about on a Sunday morning. It's a power that must be exercised. It's a muscle that must be flexed. This brings us to our final, crucial piece, the unseen muscle flexing your spiritual authority. Think of this like any other form of strength. You can read all the books in the world about weightlifting. You can understand the theory of progressive overload. You can even watch videos of other people lifting. But until you actually walk into the gym, grab that cold bar, and strain against the resistance, you haven't built an ounce of real muscle. Your knowledge is theoretical. It has no power in the world. The same is absolutely true for your spiritual authority. Your understanding that you are one with God is just pleasant philosophy until you consciously, deliberately flex that truth in the face of a contradictory appearance. The appearance is the resistance. It's the weight. It's the gym for your soul. So, what does flexing this muscle actually look like in a practical sense? It's the moment you feel the first pang of a headache coming on. The old knee-dwelling consciousness would immediately go into a story of pain, maybe reach for a pill and brace for a miserable afternoon. Flexing your spiritual authority means you pause. You consciously withdraw the power you were giving to that physical appearance. You turn within, to the throne of your being, and you actively affirm the truth. You might silently, but with fierce conviction, declare, "I am not a material body subject to sickness. I am a spiritual idea, forever held in the perfect harmony of divine mind." This appearance of pain has no law to support it, and no reality in truth. You aren't just saying words. You are putting your full weight on them. You are leaning into the truth with all your mental and spiritual strength, pushing back against the illusion. It's the moment you get the unsettling email that threatens your financial security. The need dweller would spiral into panic and fear, their entire inner world collapsing. The spiritual operator who is building this unseen muscle does the opposite. They feel the pull of fear, that's the resistance, and they consciously choose to flex. They stand their ground in consciousness and affirms, "My supply is spiritual and infinite. It is the very activity of God in my experience. This appearance of lack is a lie, and I refuse to empower it with my belief. I am governed and provided for by a law of abundance." You are not denying the email's existence. You are denying its authority over your state of mind and its power to define your reality. You are confronting the appearance with a higher, spiritual fact. This is the daily moment-by-moment work. It's flexing that muscle when a relationship feels strained, when a plan falls apart, when anxiety whispers its lies. Every single time you choose to respond from the throne of principle instead of reacting from the knees of personal sense, you are doing a rep. You are adding density to your spiritual authority. And just like in the gym, over time, what was once a massive struggle becomes light. The weights of the world's appearances don't get lighter. Your spiritual strength just gets so much greater that you can handle them with a calm, unshakable power. You stop being intimidated by the problems of life because you know they are merely the raw material, the resistance you use to build the unshakable strength of your own demonstrated Christhood.